Welcome back, everyone, to Confessions of a Loveaholic. I am your host, Emmy Hernandez, and I have an incredible guest with me today who is also a fellow love coach. We're on the love coaching journey and changing lives and helping women bring in healthy love. I have the incredible Lilli Bewley. Let me tell you about Lilli. Lilli is a dating coach for finding love with over 10 years of experience in personal development. She herself went from just surviving in life to thriving in love and purpose. Currently, she is helping single and successful women love, dating, and find true love. Lilli is on a mission to educate people on how dating can be fun again after divorce, even in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and even if they've been single forever. We have the ability to create magnetic energy in our dating lives, even if we have to perform and be high achievers in other parts of our lives. Her signature quiz, the Feminine Dating Archetype, will show women their blocks to love and help them find their true love match. Lilli, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Emmy. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I also love a good conversation about love. So I'm super excited to see where this goes.
I love it. We can nerd out together.
Let's nerd out about love.
I love it. So, Lilli, you have a really cool topic that is one of your areas of expertise because you have many. Can you tell us about this feminine dating archetype and
Mm.
the quiz?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Thanks for that, for starting with that. Starts off with a bang. Everyone is always super interested to hear about the feminine dating archetypes. And the feminine dating archetypes, a little bit of background on where that came from is obviously much, I'm sure like you, I mean, maybe not, but definitely the reason that I'm here, teaching dating, teaching what I've learned through my journey, doing the healing on myself and then others is the progression that I've walked through in my life to kind of get to where I am today was a journey for me from picking the wrong people, being in toxic relationships, staying there too long, not having a voice, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, to now being a beautiful expression of myself. I always like to say the magnetic woman, and really opening up to a beautiful love that I didn't even know could ever exist in my life. And what I love to just give hope to women about is about this idea, especially if you know you have past failed divorces, you have past failed relationships, you see the same patterns again and again in dating and relationships, especially inside of yourself, whether it be anxiety, overwhelm, overthinking, knowing that you love yourself but your actions really aren't very loving of yourself, if you know what I mean, women out there. What I love about these feminine dating archetypes is I started to look back on my journey of getting to where I am today. And I saw these different phases of what I went through. And of course, we can go through them. I'd love to do that. Always, people always love to hear about them. But these different phases about what I went through. And then helping my clients go through a very similar, it's never the same, right? Like, trauma-informed dating coach means basically that everyone has their subjective experience, right? Like every person's experience counts. And so it's a little bit subjective, it changes per person, in some ways, but in most ways, we just kind of go through these phases to get to this magnetic woman and epic love that we're trying to call in. And so it was that. And then, all of the different ways that I had learned about healing, like attachment theory, for example, or different things that happen in our nervous system when we're feeling dysregulated in the dating process. And then, neuroscience even kind of sprinkles in there. And then one day, God was like, there's some there God always talks to me like, yo, Lilli, there's something about this. And so that was kind of the day that I just sat down and these feminine dating archetypes started flowing out. And what I love about this is it helps women feel that they are not alone and that there's hope to get to the next phase of their journey. Because if you are that person, like I was that person having trouble in relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship. And then when you go to your friends and your family with the same problem with a different face, we typically do not get the quote unquote advice or the feeling of being seen and being heard and understood, because it's like, oh, just go have fun, or just go put your best foot forward, or there are many fish in the sea, or you're just, it's going to happen when you least expect it. But what is really hard for them to understand is actually what's happening inside of us when all of this stuff is happening on the outside. So that's kind of where all of this came from. And the hope, again, is I've identified kind of the levels that we need to heal inside of ourselves in order to get to the next, the next iteration of the archetype. And by the way, if anyone wants to take it, datingarchetype.com, it takes 2 minutes.
I love it. I think it's brilliant that you have created this and that you made a quiz. Can we find out what those archetypes are? Are you able to share some of those here
Oh
today?
yeah, totally. Yeah. And I don't know, be prepared to feel seen and heard and understood. So it starts with a chill woman, and I was a chill woman for 2.5 decades, 3 decades of my life, right? So the chill woman, super familiar with overwhelming anxiety in the dating process. This definitely tends to flare up in the span of like 24, 48, 72 hours after not hearing from the other person. Like it was such a pattern for me when I was on the apps to like stay up way late at night and have like a really fun and engaging, exciting conversation with somebody on the app, and then the next day they're gone. Who the like just left. And the chill woman, actually, this is kind of sad. And I see you and I hear you if this is you and you're listening to this, but the chill woman does tend to get ghosted a lot, and she doesn't understand why, because she's really good at communicating. She could probably talk about like how she feels or what's happening, but the type of people that she's attracting in her life, like I said, tend to kind of ghost her a lot. Sometimes the chill woman tends to have sex a lot quicker than she really wants to in the dating process. And this is like, even if she tells herself that she can handle it, most of the time she can't. Like it tends up going, down that road of situationship, and it ends pretty badly. In the past, the chill woman has complained of not being seen and heard and understood. So that was like, you're not seeing me, you're not hearing me, you're not understanding me. That was a huge complaint that she had. So if the chill woman really wants to kind of get to her next level and next layer, her inner healing work is all about boundaries. Her like her energetic boundaries, her time boundaries, and the boundaries that she um like she lets her heart open up too quickly, but not to the right people. So there's that. And then um the other thing, opportunity for the chill woman, is to see and hear and understand parts of herself that she doesn't even know that are there. So that her wants and her needs and desires can actually start to come forward, because she probably hasn't had a lot of needs, wants, and desires in the past.
I love that. So, Lily, I really want to go into this deeper. So, for the listeners, because I think this is going to be really important, there could be some confusion around the chill woman, right? Because they're thinking like, oh, well, I'm chill, like it's all fine. But what's really happening underneath is the anxiety, right? So it's really more of the masked chill woman. Can you
Totally.
want to go more into those details there? Because I think this is so
Yeah.
important, it's so fascinating, and for them to understand why, if they're in that phase or in that stage in their life, why is it that they're getting ghosted if they're so chill, right? Don't men want chill women, Lily? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
are we talking about here?
Yeah, well, if you're a chill woman like me, that's what I thought. That's the way that I was. So, granted, like I said, the number, like, trauma informed anything, is it really is about what's happening inside of us, but also what's happened to us in the past. So, like, for example, for me, I was not modeled a healthy relationship from my parents. I was modeled like this submissive, dominant type of situation, right? So, that's where I grew up. I grew up in a household where there was covert and overt abuse. And then having these failed relationships that kind of followed me no matter where in the country I was, y'all. They still followed me there. um, where again, this pattern of things happening inside of ourselves. So what I think is really, really important, I want this to be good news. Like if someone is identifying like, oh, that's the chill woman and I hate that part of me, oh, it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We are just putting a stake in it. It's a signpost, okay, for where you are, where you want to grow. The good news about this is that everything that's happening inside of us, typically, if it's not in alignment with who we are, with our highest self, with, with God, with purpose, there's always opportunities to heal if our thoughts, behaviors, actions, beliefs, and emotions aren't lined like they're not doing the same things, right? They're not lined up in alignment with who we are, what we want, and our needs and desires. So here's the good news about the chill woman. And this is for the fortress woman and the goddess woman. Those are the three kind of the phases. And then there's the magnetic woman. If you're seeing patterns in your dating life that you do not like about yourself in particular, then it's really not you. Your patterns are not you. They are really just a part of you that are screaming for you to heal, to do that internal healing work, hopefully, in a therapeutic or coaching container, so that you can get to that next level, start to listen to your needs and wants and desires, speak up for them, relearn how to listen to your intuition, really discern quicker than you did before, who is right for you and who is not, because that is key.
Lilli, I love that we're going into this. And one of the things that I tell my clients, and I know you agree with this, is the first step to all of this is sort of putting a mirror to ourselves and holding ourselves accountable, right? Not blame. That accountability is different than blame, shame, and judgment, right? Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But that accountability of, you were saying before, around the patterns, right? Like follow you across the country, ooh, right? Like mine followed me across the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't until I was like, this is the common denominator here.
Yes.
For those of you who can't see me, I'm pointing at myself. And so when we start having that level of clear, truthful conversations with ourselves around the accountability of where we are in our present reality with the blueprint, including the traumas, including everything that happened to us. Yes, like a lot of things that happen to us in our lives have gotten us to this point, and some of them served us, and now we get to close that chapter, but it is a conscious choice to close that chapter. And here's why Lilli and I do the work that we do, because we know how fucking hard it is to do it by ourselves. I know I needed help. I had to go work with experts, right? And when I realized how I could get the results and married my soulmate, then I started getting people asking me, can you help me too? So I don't know how it was for you, Lilli, but I'm assuming it was something similar where you're like, okay, right? Like I figured it out, and now you feel inspired to help others because it's so painful, right? And speaking on painful, you brought this up earlier around like just how kind of yucky or gross, or how scary, or like it's all very confusing when we're asking advice from maybe people and friends who mean well, but they're not really experts in this space. So why does relationship advice feel bad?
I think like the great question of relationship advice doesn't feel bad is because what we're really asking for. I think what we're really asking for, if you're going to like to level 5 deeper, we're really asking to be seen and heard and understood, and to be told again and again that you're perfect as you are. You don't need to change anything about yourself, right? And that is, you and I can talk today, Emmy, about authenticity all we want, but there is a huge, huge wound for most women, I'll just say most women, about authenticity, because what you just said, we have, because of things that have happened to us, society, what have you, we have, in order to have gotten to the places that we are today, which, I'm sure you do as well. I work with women who have achieved in almost every other area of their life, but relationships and dating cannot seem to get that quote unquote right. The thing is that work, work and the role of executive or the role of business owner, the role of coach, the role of therapist or whatever is a very different role than that of being authentic Lilli in dating and relationships. So just what you said, it's a mirror into what is happening. What is happening on the inside of us will be mirrored on the outside of us until we do the healing work that is necessary to be kind of like a pure version of who we really are at our core.
I like to equate it, lady. I think that's so brilliant that you're bringing that up. And you know what I like to tell my clients, and you're right, when someone tells the advice of like, just you're perfect exactly as you are, you one day you'll just meet the one and it'll happen when you least expect it.
All the things.
I think it's well-meaning advice, but it's actually more hurtful to your point around like they're like,
Mm.
well, then if I'm doing everything right, why isn't it working? Right? The
Yeah.
frustration around that. And what I like to tell my clients or people who come to me for this level of it, and I won't say advice because I don't give out advice. I never do.
Same.
I
Same.
coach, right? So
Hmm.
I don't give advice. I coach my clients who are in contract with me because it's a
Hmm.
very different, the level of conviction there is very different.
Hmm.
So again, don't give advice, but when I do coach my clients, it's more around we need to up level your skill set around
Hmm.
communicating, right? Just like you're not offended, right? I wasn't offended when I got my first job out of college at 21 and my marketing manager told me, Emmy, I want you to start doing some of these high level presentations for our executives. I'm going to hire you a professional speaking coach.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's awesome. Guess what? I needed help with that. I
Hmm.
needed help from an expert to coach me. So I was so blessed that my boss saw that I had some raw talent there, but we needed to polish me up, right? We
Hmm.
needed
Hmm.
talent is not enough. So this is where we need to up level our skill sets because guess what? We're not born knowing how to communicate on dating apps or even how to flirt. Most of us, aka me, we're really bad at flirting because as executives, we were taught to do it by emasculating men.
Mm.
So, okay, so I'm not going to go into those details right now because I want Lilli to go into some other powerful things here. But I just am so grateful that you brought that up because it really has nothing to do with someone's core of who they are, their values, and their personality, but it is a skill set thing. That's
Yeah.
what I call it. I'd love your insight.
Yeah, no, I call it a skill set too. And I would take it maybe again, like 2 or 3 levels deeper. Listening to our intuition is a skill set. Listening to our intuition is a skill set because that has been the thing, that most traumatized us in childhood, let's say, for example, is the thing that is going to continue to repeat itself in adulthood until it is healed. So, for example, I'm sure, you teach the same way, but it is more important to pick the right person than it is to learn their love languages, their communication styles, their setting date nights every Friday that never end up coming through. It is much more important to pick the right person. And that is the thing that is a skill set to me. Um, Super, super important.
Spot on, Lily. Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to tell you how much I agree with that.
Hmm.
I have a lot of couples that come to me because I help single women, I help couples as well. And the first thing I tell the couples who come into contract with me or they come with their first consultation is I'm not here to save your marriage.
Hmm.
And they think I'm kidding. And I said, no. I
Hmm.
said, we're going to work together for 90 days. And I will tell you after those 90 days if I think you married the wrong person. And I
Mm.
said, feel free to step away now. Uh, they have every right to. I said, but if you really want to know the truth, let's go on this journey.
Hmm.
So I actually have a big gripe around therapists. We all get to do whatever we want in life, but people who are so stuck on saving the marriage, and like 100% you have to stay together. Very often, more than not, we had the wrong picker
Hmm.
when we did get married or got into that deep relationship. And we keep trying to force the shoe on. Be like,
Hmm.
honey, baby, just go buy the shoe that's the right fit already. Stop trying to cut off,
Exactly.
like in the original Cinderella, like I think people forget or don't know the story, but in the original Cinderella, the step sisters that were trying to put on her shoe, one of them cut off her toes, and the other one cut off her heel
Wow.
to try to fit into the shoe. And that's what so many of us are
Mm.
doing. Because we're like,
Mhm.
"What if we just do this and we just do that? And if I just change myself this way, and if I communicate better, if I learn his love language better, then he'll love me, right, Lily? He'll love me."
Mhm. Mhm.
And we know that's not how it works.
Mm-mm. No, no, it isn't. And I agree. I think that we all, trauma tells us that we can't change our minds. And there are other things that happen, in our lives in society. For example, society celebrates longevity in relationships, right? Instead of right fit. And we all iterate. Like we're all growing human beings, right? And how many times, and this was me, how many times I can't even remember in my last kind of toxic relationship where he just kept saying, you've changed. You've changed. Like it was a bad thing, right? And that's not that's not my person, right? And so did my deeper level healing work, and was able to, like I said, like the skill sets really are about, for me, like I said, relearning how to listen to your intuition. The skill sets also feeling in your body what's a yes and what's a no for you. And that is a lot more than probably the somatic work that they're getting at, during at therapy. Not saying anything about therapy, but a lot of clients that I have gone through therapy, and like for whatever reason, there's just like this last layer of healing that someone needs to do, where it's they just can't get to it. It's so subconscious and so unconscious that they just really need to kind of maybe try something different. I don't really know why exactly, but um, yeah, absolutely.
I love that, Lily. And I think, I don't know if you've seen this with your clients, but I've seen sort of the hybrid approach. And I love my clients who have had a really good therapist, right? Because there's some
Mm-hmm.
who have not experienced that. And I have the ones who love their therapist. I love that they love them. And I feel like they prep them for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
there's when you're going to therapy, it's more of like, hey, I know something's really not working and I really need help in digging some deep. For people who have that level of recognition, right, and
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness, who have had the blessing and the privilege to get to that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of layers, and we can go pretty deep there. But by the time they get to me in the coaching side, the level of conviction is different. There's
Mm-hmm.
not so much more, we need to heal some blueprints. We still work on that, to your
Mm-hmm.
point, but it's more goal driven of like, okay, I want my soulmate. I'm working towards that. No longer like, why are all the men that I meet cheaters, right? Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
So they've really shifted. Not that they were ever in victim mindset, some of them are, but by the time they get to me, if the therapist really set them up for success, we just fast track their results. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what's so magnificent. I love that sort of, like, when it works well, it's a beautiful hybrid approach.
Yeah, totally is. I definitely see that as well. And the goddess woman archetype, for example, has done a lot of work on herself. For example, and there's still a gap for her between what she knows that she should feel like she's saying that she loves herself, right? But her actions and behaviors, who she picks, the type of people that she lets into her life are not loving of herself. So there's a disconnect between what's happening on the outside of her, which is maybe like a beautiful Instagram, or a life where she's fine or she's adventurous or whatever, but on the inside, and when it comes to dating and relationship in particular, there's a huge disconnect between the experience that she's portraying and the experience that she's actually having in the dating life. So yeah, absolutely. There's definitely, I think, just, riffing on therapy, I think therapy has a lot of great benefits for maintenance, but I don't think it has a lot of great, and I think that's where coaching kind of comes in. And what I love about coaching myself, I've had probably more up levels in coaching than I've ever had in therapy personally. And this is my personal experience. So I think therapy really is good for maintenance type purposes, at least for me. But coaching really will get you like up level to your next edge, your next up level. With a good coach, they'll take you to that edge, kind of pull you back a little bit, and then take you to the next edge and pull you back a little bit. And that's how you grow.
Absolutely. That's where the growth happens. That's where the magic happens, right?
Mhm.
Pushing,
Mhm.
pushing
Yeah.
ourselves, pushing the client to the edge with love and conviction and some firmness and a little bit of like, I got you. And a little bit of like, hey, babe. "Oh, remember you said you didn't want to do this anymore? I'm gonna here to remind you." They're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." Right. So I love that we get to do that. And your clients are very, very lucky.
Same.
I'm gonna repeat, thank you. I'm gonna repeat the feminine dating archetype quiz. We're also gonna put this in the show notes. It's datingarchetype.com. You can go take your quiz there and see what everything Lilli was talking about. Lilli, what is the best way for everyone to find out more about you and your work, and where can they follow you?
Mhm. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Amy. Well, I'm sure we could riff on this for hours, but yeah, datingarchetype.com is the best place. Again, that's the dating archetype, feminine dating archetype quiz, or in any of the socials, I'm at Lilli Bewley.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lilli. Any final words for our listeners today?
Ooh, we covered so much ground. I think, the other thing I'd like to just again put out there is that if you think that you have a bad picker or you have a pattern that you don't like, just a reminder that it's not you. It's really just a part of you that really, really is screaming for you to heal. So it's actually good news because I mean, I know back in my day when I was the chill woman for the most, like I said, most of my life, was that I felt like I was making the decisions, but I really kind of wasn't making the decisions. Like a wounded part of me was like making the decisions about sleeping with two men in one day, for example, or like that my wounded part of me was really leading most of my dating life because it really needed love. It really needed healing. It really needed for me to see and understand and hear parts of myself that I didn't even know were there, for example. So I hope that's good news because there is a way, there's absolutely a way to do something differently with a little bit of courage. There is absolutely a way to heal parts of you that you didn't even know were existed or were there.
Thank you, Lilli. That's absolutely good news because, as you listeners have heard, and I'm sure Lilli can attest to this, just as trauma can be passed down, so can healing. Healing can be
Beautiful.
passed down through generations in our DNA. So if you are deciding that you are that person, it stops with you. You break
Hmm.
the chain. You are doing that not only for you, but retroactively for generations and moving forward, even if you choose not to have children. And the ripple effect on the planet is just marvelous.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you so
is.
much, Lilli, for being on our show. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Remember, everyone, you deserve safe love.